This panel I am so excited to bring together. I want to welcome Nora Moraga-Lewy. Hi, Nora. Nora is the Rainforest Journalism Fund Manager at the Pulitzer Center, a nonprofit organization that is working so hard to strengthen engagement with global issues by supporting independent journalism and education. Nora is passionate about the role of journalists and civil society in tropical resource conservation and human rights protection, especially in the context of social conflict and economic development. Previously, Nora was a research associate at the Environmental Law Institute. She's been a fellow for the Kerry Initiative at Yale's Jackson School of Global Affairs, a graduate teaching fellow at Yale. She holds a BA in environmental studies and a certificate in energy studies, and a master's in environmental management from the Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. And I heard Nora moderate a panel with a researcher and expert, Frances Seymour, who studies forests. And since then, I think have embarked on a very deep journey understanding forests, but also trying to figure out how can we empower young women to do that. And so in this panel, I'm so thrilled that Nora will be facilitating a conversation with our Technovation teams from Nigeria, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Egypt, and Cambodia. So welcome, Nora. I'll hand it to you.
Thank you so much to everybody also for organizing this session. It's an exciting honor for me to also hear and learn from all of the amazing teams represented. And I was hoping to just start off with a minute or two connecting a little bit about what I do in journalism and with environment with what this organization, Technovation, and all of the teams are doing as well. So I'll get started with that, and then hopefully we'll jump right into hearing more about the experiences of our the participants who are here today. So as you all heard, my name is Nora, and I'm the Rainforest Journalism Fund Manager at a nonprofit called the Pulitzer Center. And we are based in Washington, D.C., but we have colleagues all over the world, and we support reporting and education all over the world. And basically what we do is we raise awareness and encourage engagement in global issues by directly supporting journalism and then through our unique education and public outreach programming. So basically what this means is that we help to fund journalism projects, and we provide some other resources, networking opportunities for journalists, and then our amazing education and outreach teams take the reporting and journalists that we've supported to classrooms, to conferences, and to other new audiences through the partnerships that they develop, and of course through their own curriculum building and facilitation work. So we at the Pulitzer Center are all particularly excited about stories and approaches to journalism that help us think critically about underreported global issues or issues that don't always get mainstream media attention. We are also excited about journalism and approaches that help us to hear voices that have been typically marginalized or ignored for many reasons. And of course, we're also excited about reaching new audiences, even with stories that have already been told for others. So that's a bit about what I do. And I think we have actually a lot in common with the mission and objectives of both Technovation and of course, of the amazing teams that we have represented in this session. So, first of all, I think probably many of us agree that we can use education and awareness raising to produce a whole generation of very informed global citizens who can be better equipped to address the systemic challenges that we're facing around the world, including environmental ones like climate change, but similar, I think, approach for many other challenges that we're facing. We're also really excited about the use of technology and even more specifically AI. So in the media, we're increasingly seeing that AI tools and interactive platforms are helping us to innovate ways to reach new audiences, innovate in ways that we generate insights for investigations, and even more fundamentally, the way that we think about how journalism can be done. And of course, you all probably also know that journalists are even looking at AI from an accountability angle. So ensuring that the solutions that we develop through technologies to pressing issues are not producing unintended impacts. So between all that we have in common here and then my more specific, background in environmental studies, I think you can imagine why I'm very excited to finally be diving into a discussion with our participants today to learn from this group of change makers. So I think we're going to get started with my first of many questions. But I also think that since you all have access to the chat feature, if you have any follow-up or specific questions for our presenters, our speakers, feel free to ask them, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chat. And with my first question, I would also love to ask our speakers today to share their names, the teams that they are representing, and where in the world they're based. So I think with that, we can go ahead and get started. So as you all heard in my short introduction, in my current work, we're really passionate about stories that are linking the local and the global, because we find that stories that link local issues to global trends, or even the other way around, global trends to local communities, can be really impactful and help our audiences engage in conversations on these issues, right? So I noticed very clearly a connection between local and global in the projects that all of the teams represented here, created and developed, right? So I'd love to start off, each of you can introduce yourselves with your names, but I'd love to start off with how you identified the specific issue that you wanted to address through your app in this very complex world that we're living in. So let's see who can get us started today. I see Debbie, so.
I can start. First of all, hello everyone. I'm Debbie. I represent Istanbul, Turkey, and the team Choose Expedite. So first, while we were trying to choose a topic in Technovation, the main goal was to find something as specific as possible, so that we could concentrate on our community and find something specific to work in our community. And while we were trying to develop this application, the new Istanbul airport was trying to be built, and we all lived very close to the site. We first-handedly saw the cutting of trees to build the airport. There was constant commotion around our living area due to construction machines, and the roads were clustered with dust. It was pretty devastating to see how much pollution was happening around, and we were all very disturbed at the amount of deforestation that was happening around us. As we were prompted to find something as specific as possible, as I said, we decided to concentrate on this issue, thus climate change.
Thank you, Debbie. And how about Malika, I think, next?
Hello, everyone. My name is Malika. I'm representing a team from Kazakhstan. We've made our app for application 2 years ago. I'm representing the team Coco, and our app was a 3D mobile game that was focusing on the education about the environmental issues and the climate change, mainly focused on youth and children. And we identified our problem by conducting several surveys and interviews with our potential users. We found out that, in fact, many of them know about the environmental problems and the climate crisis because of the social media or school, which educates them. But the problem for them is that they don't apply their knowledge in life, they don't take the action. So our app was primarily focusing on how to make them engage in all those activities that help them, for example, to reduce their carbon footprint, or spread awareness to their friends and families and all this.
Thank you, Malika. And our maybe next person to answer this question about how you identified the issue to address, I would like to invite Nadine.
Hello, I'm Nadine. I'm 15 years old. I'm from Egypt. I'm from Treasury Water team. I identified my problem. I made a research about global problems to help the greatest number of people. So I decided to choose the water, specifically water scarcity. So it already affects about every continent, every place there is a problem in this. So we decided to go to this problem, and it's already a disrupting weather patterns. Like it's leading to extreme weather events, and it's making a great problems. So we decided to let everybody be aware of this problem and how to help in solving it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nadine. And next we have our team from Cambodia, and finally we'll hear from Virginia from Nigeria. Serena?
So, hello everyone. So my name is Emil. I currently 18 years old. I'm from Cambodia, and I represent team Storming Girl, which our app name is Forest Fire. The way that we identify this issue is the fact is that the forest area that we that's called Rangping volunteering at that place, and I think that a month before we choosing this issue, we got a report from the conservationists from that forest that area, and they report that the forest fire happened dramatically. It's happened many times, and then we got the opportunity to go to that place, and we went to the forest. We also see the forest while it is burning, and we saw these shocking situations. And then when we come back, we decided to work on this problem, and then we started to search about this. And when we search, we surprised that not only Cambodia that has a forest fire, but many places around the world, and we all concerned about this problem, and that forest fire really occur many times a year, that our resource become less and less, and it's become a big issue that our team decided to work on it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much. And finally, Virginia, would you like to share a bit about how you chose your topic?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Virginia from Nigeria, and we're working on how to tackle climate change. We created an app 2 years ago to tackle climate change. The reason we picked this topic was because most of the areas we lived in had dump areas.
Virginia, can you unmute yourself? I think you accidentally muted.
Sorry about that. So most of the areas we lived in Nigeria had dump areas. They didn't know how to dispose their plastic properly. So we decided to create this app to educate more people how to use their plastics. No, you can actually make money from plastic. That was why me and my team decided to create an app to tackle climate change and help them reduce plastics.
Thank you so much, Virginia, and to everyone. I'm noticing a couple of trends here and how you approach just really sometimes overwhelming global issues. I'm noticing that you all researched a lot, obviously thinking about the scope of the problem. So can I tackle an issue that can have impacts globally, right? You were also thinking a little bit about local impacts and how you can actually get your peers or your target audience to care. And then you were also thinking about urgency when you were looking at these global issues, whether it's from hearing from nearby authorities, conservation authorities about something that's happening, live in real time, or about a new nearby development project that's going to have impacts on your community. I think, you were all thinking about these really important angles and choosing the sort of issue that you were going to tackle. So, our next question is also sort of about the start of a project, whether it's a journalism project or an ambitious, app-related project, a technology. So a question that we ask ourselves sometimes is, what is kind of the minimum that I can deliver, the minimum, product or impact, and what's the maximum? And then another way we sometimes think through this, planning question is, what are just my objectives of this work that I'm going to do? So I'd love to ask next a little bit about what those key objectives of your projects were. You got to some of them in our introductions, But I'd like to invite, I think, Malika first to see if you could share a little bit more about those objectives.
So as our application was focusing on both like raising awareness and raising like the action of youth in terms of combating the problems of climate crisis. Our first parts of the application was focusing on the game parts, where we tried to talk more about the environmental problems and how they are solved, to like teach and show people how those processes actually work. And then we had we had a step tracker that could count the carbon footprint, and the last part was concerning the recycling. So we had a device which was connected to our application, and by using that, the user could track his or her recycling like activities by like throwing some things to the special bin with this device which counted them. And our minimum objective was to make this prototype working and at least show that to the companies and educational institutions. Later, we distributed this prototype at our school and showed, and it proved to be successful. Then, of course, our more global goal was to reach all the Central Asian community, and we're still working on that by developing this existing project and using some other new ideas. But that was like our starting idea.
Amazing, thank you. I would like to know if any of our other speakers today want to share a bit about their sort of minimum objectives and maximum objectives, and if not, we can get into more details, but does anyone want to share? Okay, I'm not seeing any boxes unmute, so we can move to the next question. But as I said earlier, if anyone has follow-up, or even if any of the speakers want to ask questions of each other, please feel free to send a message. So the next question, now that we've heard a bit about how you're thinking through the planning process, looking at topics that you want to address and the sort of objectives of a project, you know, the next step is kind of, all right, so how do we do this? What's our approach? And you can think about both the technical questions, which we'll get to next, but also just thinking a little bit about, you know, what is the sort of product going to be? Will it be a game, as we heard from Malika? Will it be something else? So I'd like to hear a bit more about the particular approach for, you know, working towards the objectives that your team set. And I know that Devi is already ready to answer this question. And of course, anyone else can jump in as well after.
Yes, since first a reminder that our application was about climate change and it was a game. So while developing the application, we all realized that there was much to do about climate change, but too little awareness. We decided that since younger generations would be more affected by this issue, we decided that we should make them aware. Since children play the games frequently, the idea that they could benefit from something that they were already going to do sounded revolutionary, which is why we decided to make a game which would be accessible to everyone. So we would be able to make them aware and make them included to this problem as a solution as well.
Great. So we've heard a bit about the benefits of using a game for reaching audiences. I know from our introductions and from watching your videos earlier, also some of you chose, you know, trackers so that you can understand your personal impact on an issue or the way that you can help make change. Does a representative from any of the teams want to talk about the choice of a sort of approach for your app other than a game and why you may have chosen it? And no worries if you would like to wait till later, but do we have any volunteers? Okay, well, I think, again, we did hear a little bit about this already in our introductions. So I'm glad that you all have diverse products that you helped to develop. We're looking forward to hearing more details in the next couple of questions. So I mentioned, you know, obviously you all here are much more, I think, technically capable and advanced to someone like me, but I know our audience members have, diverse backgrounds and experiences using different tools. So it's, I think, a great idea to ask and hear a little bit about the pros and cons of different coding languages and platforms and how your team chose to use those different things, right? So if you also want to share, did you already have experience with certain languages or platforms, and how did you come to your final decision? I think we can start with Nadine for this question.
Yeah, okay. So I made research about many programming languages, and I chose App Inventor. I think it's not a programming language, it's just a tool to make a mobile app. So I believe the pros for it are that it's an easy way to do a mobile app. It takes less time because it's an easy and not so you don't need to write like programming language. So it just take a small time to do an app, just a tool for people to know about our idea and the solution to the problem. Moreover, I think it's a fast method to use it. I think it's for fun to do like games. For the cons, I think it's not an advanced application, but it's a great tool to start with. So I just learned programming at first using App Inventor. So it's made a long road for me to learn other programming languages.
Thank you so much. That's a good tip. Thank you, Nadine. And I think we also have Malika, who will be able to help us understand how her team came to a decision.
As we decided to make a game, like the choice of making a game was made because we decided that it's the best tool to convey our idea to like young audience that should be motivated in some way. So like we decided that that could be gamification, and that's why we've chosen the Unity. It's a game developing platform. We had one person on our team who was quite familiar with that, but we still needed to learn a lot to build working prototype. And as I mentioned, we had a device, and for prototyping that we were using the Arduino, as all of us on our team had some robotics and automation backgrounds. We really enjoy the process of creating such devices by our own.
Awesome, thank you. And Debbie, what did your team use, and how did you kind of come to that decision?
For the first application we did, we also chose App Inventor, as Nadine said, because like, as she said, it was easy to use, and we were, besides using Xcode and MIT App Inventor, so App Inventor seemed like an easy choice to start how to learn to code. Then the next year we learned that Thunkable could also be used, and we decided to explore on Thunkable. I think Thunkable was much more easy to use because we could both collaborate, like two people to work on the same application, and the interface looked easier to use actually. Later on in the year, as we learned how to code, and we developed more and more, we decided to use Xcode for our third year. And I think the Xcode application was the most professional looking application, to be honest, but to come to that point to use Xcode at first, we had to have 2 years of block coding experience, and we had to develop more and more before using Xcode.
Thank you, Debbie. I think Virginia is also going to share with us a bit about her team's experience.
Oh, okay. Thank you once again. We started using MIT App Inventor when we learned about Technovation, because that was actually the first time we heard about an application that can help you create softwares. I was so amazed. I wanted to like learn how to use that app or the software. So we decided to use MIT App Inventor. That was actually our first year participating in Technovation. And then our last year's app, we used Thunkable. We used MIT the first time because it was like more of a block coding, because we didn't like writing codes, and so it was like it's going to be hard for us. So we decided to use MIT because it did more of block programming. So after that, we did Turntable. We used Turntable and we developed programming skills or coding skills from MIT App Inventor and Turntable. So I think that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Virginia. I love how all of you are reflecting this kind of never-ending quest to learn new tools and finding new solutions to these big issues. So these are great pieces of advice also for anyone who's interested in tackling a project like yours in future years. So thanks all for those insights. And just again, let me know if you all have any other comments or if you want to ask questions of your fellow students around the world. I think, we've heard a lot about the aspirations, the sort of thought process that has gone into developing these apps. And I think another important question is to ask a little bit about the biggest maybe challenge that you faced in developing the app or completing your project. And I'm most interested in hearing not just what that challenge was, but how you all worked to overcome it, or even just what you learned, what might you do differently next time based on that experience. I think we can start with Nadine, but hopefully others will also jump in after.
Okay, so one of my biggest challenges in doing the app was how to convert my solution into a multiple screens. So that was a challenge for me. I have a solution and I want to put it in a multiple screens so the user can interact with each screen differently. So to overcome it, I just did a research about the mobile apps in same fields and how they put the screens. So I just learned some default screens like contact us screen, like welcome screen, like we just want to welcome the user, and making an account for each user, which makes him or her like unique. I have my own account. I can track like my water usage. We did a research on how to design screens, how to put where to put the buttons, and images. Images are more likely to attract people to look at with colorful colors. So Technovation, on the Technovation program, it was easy because it told us each step how to design the screen. So it made for us easier. And each time I do a mobile application, I made it in no time. Like I think turning solution into screens take less time.
Awesome, thank you, Nadine. Also great advice to be, always researching solutions. I think that Srenyang, you also are going to share with us a little bit about the challenges or a challenge your team encountered and how you worked around it or learned from it.
Yeah, so I want to share a little bit about my challenge. So the difficult thing first is the topic. It's really difficult that we have a many idea about our subject, but it seems like we have a different how to solve that solution. So it's really difficult to find one idea together. And one more thing is that because of before submitting, I mean a month before submitting, because I live far away from my teamwork, so we really difficult to discuss about about this app, and that finally we really work hard with that one. And one more thing, the thing that really difficult is that we are a girl and the forest is far away from where we live, like a remote area. So we really challenge that we just only two of us go to that place that really dangerous, but we trying to get the information and the real information that really help to our project. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a really real challenge, as you can imagine, also for journalists, for researchers who are trying to learn more information or help to address some of the challenging issues that you will have looked at. It's just safety and feasibility, right? So, just another small anecdote before we move on to our next speaker who will share about this question. For some of our journalists, even the challenges or the lack of information can become the story or can become the issue that you're working on getting a solution to. I mean, this is not exactly what you were sharing with us, Srenyang, but it is kind of related to the question of working with conservation authorities, right? Some of the journalists that we worked with did a lot of research and found a question they were excited about, or they found an issue that they wanted to cover, just like all of you did. And then they realized like information is just totally missing in their particular context or country. So the work that they did, actually using satellite images, AI, and using apps to make the platform interactive and interesting to users, the work that they did was actually generating the data for other people to learn from and use, not just themselves. They shared it publicly, and they created these amazing visualizations that have since then helped even law enforcement agencies, conservation agencies, and other, members of civil society use the information that they collected and created, and then help to, create changes and keep people accountable from there. So that's just an example of a story where the challenge, it did come at the very beginning with just the topic and figuring out where to go from there. And it actually became the story. So definitely in challenges, you can find opportunities as well. And, I think our other participant here, our speaker, Virginia, will share another challenge that her team faced and how she got around it as well.
Okay, starting our app wasn't easy because we didn't have the team spirit. We came from different schools, so I didn't know how to work in a team personally. And then my friends love taking selfies, so it wasn't easy creating an app together. I had to always talk and be like, let's create these apps together. And they said, no, they need to take pictures. And it wasn't easy, but how we overcame it, we learned how to work in a team. Technovation taught us that, actually. I learned how to work in a team personally, and then we created a schedule for us. This is a time to take picture, and this is a time to work. So we were able to settle our differences by scheduling our time and learning how to work in a team.
Thank you, Virginia. Honestly, yes, collaboration can bring a lot of opportunities to different team members, and to, in journalism, we always talk about collaboration, but that doesn't always happen overnight, right? There's a lot of questions to work out, a lot of things to agree on before you can be working optimally. So thank you for sharing that challenge and also how you all worked through it. That's a really, really important thing to share. So I would love to ask, now that we've talked a bit about challenges, maybe what you're the most proud of from your experience. And, successes can take the form of lessons that you've learned. I think what you all just shared about your challenges and overcoming them can be something you're proud of. But if there's anything additional or different that you'd like to share, I would really like to hear that. And I think to get us started, we have Debbie.
Yes, I think what my team and I are most proud of was that we were able to see that we as little girls could make a significant impact on our surroundings. Before participating in Technovation, I could never tell that I could develop an application as a 13-year-old in the time. And Technovation taught me that I can achieve more than I could ever imagine. That's why I think that Technovation taught us all to be more confident in ourselves and trust in our capabilities, and also to be entrepreneurial.
That's a really amazing success, something to be very proud of. Thanks, Debbie. Only in the interest of time, I'm going to move to the next question. But then, if we have a bit of time at the end, I'd love to hear about other things you all are proud of. I was also curious to hear about your team's vision for kind of long-term impact of the solutions that you present, of your app. So, if any of you all have already pitched your project to other organizations or institutions, for example, that would be really interesting for us to hear. I think Malika will get us started with this question as well.
Yeah, about the long-term impact of our solutions. As I said, we were first focusing on the impact that we could bring on the Central Asian community. That's why we were seeking the ways to expand our project somehow. And after we developed it and presented it on Technovation, we also presented to the local companies to some investors on one local contest. It was quite prestigious, so we got the money for the realization of our project, and by using that, we developed the the final prototype of our device, and both like the application part, and we used our we used our experience to like I know like promote it in our school SSAs, and how to say encourage our students to use the application and the devices. Moreover, some local companies had actually similar products to ours, so we tried to also collaborate with them to make more media content and to monetize our app. We also connected with a local startup, which was a ticketing platform. So we used their coupons and sales by providing them to our users, if they reach some level of certain points in the game. So this is how we try to materially encourage our users. So yeah.
That's really great. And Malika, you're actually perfectly linking the question about long-term impact with another question that I have, which is about the sort of skills and knowledge that your team has gained from this experience from your Technovation project, and what your plans might be for applying these skills and this new knowledge in the future, whether it's expanding your project or continuing, to recruit new team members, et cetera. So I think we're going to hear from almost everyone on these two questions. You can, refer to impact and also what you've gained and what you plan to do next. So I would love to invite Nadine to get us started with a little bit about her plans.
Okay, so one of my plans is teaching other students coding languages or like C++, like App Inventor. I just started doing that from about a month to teach other students how to do a mobile application using App Inventor and how to learn basics of programming. So App Inventor was an easy tool for me to teach them how to do an app, how to learn what is programming and what are different programming languages and what can we use it for. Second thing was how to apply for Technovation, since I applied for 3 times before. I think it's not an easy way to apply for Technovation. So I think helping other girls to apply, how to do a video, how to write the script, how to think or brainstorm for the problem, since this was one of my challenges in one of the years. So I'm planning to do this to other girls in my same age.
Really amazing. Thank you, Nadine. And I think from an earlier conversation, I remember that Debbie was also thinking a bit about being an ambassador for this type of work. So Debbie, would you like to share?
Yes, sure. After we came back from the World Pitch, my team and I decided that besides participating in Technovation, we wanted to spread our experience to a greater audience. So we became student ambassadors. In the name of Technovation Turkey, we are hosting Technovation after schools and trying to reach more underserved communities in Turkey to make Technovation accessible to everyone. And in terms of these workshops, we are also hosting Bankable and Xcode programming workshops and working through the curriculum week by week, trying to follow up with everything.
That's really awesome, Debbie. Thank you for sharing those plans and for being thoughtful about how, again, solutions, tools, technologies, other opportunities can be more broadly accessible. That's another important question we ask ourselves in journalism and media as well, right? I think next up to answer our question about impact and future plans, I'll have Virginia, if you would like to share.
Okay. So Climate has a long-term goal, which is to expand the knowledge we have. Like me personally, I started a club in my church just to educate young girls about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because I feel like it's something they should know at a very young age. So my own impact personally is to start up a club in my community and start educating them about technology and STEM related activities. And also, I'll also teach them how to reduce their plastics, how to reduce, reuse, and recycle their plastics. So this is like my long-term goal, my long-term impact.
Perfect. Thank you, Virginia. I really like the idea of using already existing community networks like churches and schools to help people understand issues, to share opportunities. I think that's something very crucial, thinking about how we can drive change and drive awareness from the kind of bottom up, instead of waiting or expecting that solutions coming from the top or from very far away will necessarily resonate with your community. So I think you all are already innovating and being really smart about the way that you approach finding audiences and recruiting additional champions for the work that you do. And finally, to talk a little bit about impact and the skills gained, Srenyang, would you like to share a bit?
Yes, of course. So I think that before joining the Technovation, I never thought that I want to study computer science for my major in the college. But after joining this program, because now I'm grad 12, so I just complete my scholarship applications that I choose ICT major, which is Information and Communication Technology, as my major. And what is really useful for me is I wrote all the information, my experience, work with the Technovation, and put it in the scholarship application essay. And it is really useful for me. And after that, I feel like I more interested in technology. So recently, because of this pandemic time, so I have a lot of time. So I started to search about some website that I can learn with the coding. So recently, I have complete many lessons in the free code camp, which it taught me a lot about the coding. And one more thing, I also just recently finished a summer course in my college about ICT as well. So yeah, it really impact to my passion. It helped me to find my passion like this.
That is really amazing. I congratulate all of you, and of course Technovation, for making this kind of real impact also possible. And I'm sure everyone is really excited to see what all of you do next, whether it's still in high school and school, and in the future as well. And I think that also brings us to a really great place to ask my final question, which is, if you all could share a little bit of advice for other young global citizens who are interested in using technology to solve global challenges with local action or with innovation, like you all have demonstrated. And again, you can share some advice on like how you choose your teammates, the kinds of skills or tools that you would recommend learning, or anything else that you think is relevant. I think this will be our final question, so also feel free to jump in with anything else that you might have missed from our conversation. And let's get started with Malika, please.
I would actually first advise for everyone who wants to start some kind of a project like that, depends on their idea or the initial objective. It is very important to like be surrounded by people who believe in your idea or who are like-minded, because of course, I guess at some point everyone needs a team, and it is like almost impossible to build a successful project just by your own. So it is important to like at least delegate those tasks and be surrounded by those people who you trust, who you think are reliable, and at least have the like strong desire to learn the skills that they don't have like at this moment. And second, I would wish everyone to like use those resources that your local community provides you with. Like, as for example, try to like make a project which first concentrates on your local community, on some local problem, or that does not require that much like money or other resources to like create, and then like try to expand it to other communities on a more global scale. And like, yeah, as they say in our our team tried to use this local financing we could get from the companies that believed in our idea, and we first tried to focus on our school, then like aiming at some more global goals.
Amazing advice. Thank you. And I think both of those things are more generally applicable, not just to this specific topic, right? So thank you for those great reminders. And Debbie, would you like to share some advice for other interested global citizens?
Of course, my biggest advice would be for you to pursue any idea that you have to make a difference, even though it sounds silly in the first place. I think we could have never gotten to this point without actually acting towards an idea that sounded silly when we first mentioned it. Also, something very important that helped our team in terms of climate change was that you have to think step by step. Like, climate change is a very big problem, which could never be solved by making an application or any kind of project, but it's the small steps that build up to the bigger idea, and it's the small things that make an impact.
Thank you so much, Debbie, and of course, Malika, Nadine, Virginia, and Srenyang. You all have shared some really amazing insights with us, have taken us basically from the beginning of your project to what you envision doing in the near future and the distant future. So I think, you know, you all have presented diverse experiences, all amazing paths to, I mean, creating change on different levels, and you know, being open to learning new things, whether it's how to work as a team or how to learn a new language for your project. So I hope that this is also really informative to anyone else who is interested in tackling this kind of work. I think just in the interest of time, we don't have more time to hear, but advice from other of our speakers, but I think they can maybe send some notes in the chat if they have any follow-up comments. And for me, again, thank you so much for the invitation to speak with you all. I look forward to sharing some of these ideas and resources with my networks as well.
Thank you, Nora, and thank you, Technovation girls. We are so proud of you, and we want you to be part of our family, and we want to help you and grow your supportive network so that you can do all that you hope and dream of. And Nora, I'm sure you'll be hearing from these young women as their careers progress, because as you can see, I mean, they're already doing what the world needs their help with. So thank you, Nora. Thank you, girls.